Greetings, this is Doc coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central here in Kent, Ohio. We coming with the daily news, we coming with the daily views, but trust and believe we ain't coming with no daily blues. Although our story may be just a little bit blue because we are still reading from The Fences Between by Norma Marceray, and she's telling us how things would go for her every single day. And yes, her story was kind of blue. As a matter of fact, true blue. Sometimes it was even black and blue. But we're going to get into what she had to do in order to make it in this life. And it'll help give us an idea of what we might have to do to make it in our lives again today. But meanwhile, let's get this party started. You know what we need you to do. First and foremost, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel. We need everybody to do that. The button is right below. It costs nothing. It's free. Won't even cost you no time. All you have to do is just listen to my rhyme and get in tune instead of being a loon. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're going to do this dance, but we're not going to dance with the devil, even though every day devil help thief. One day, God will help watchman. Every day, devil help the thief. One day, God will help watchman. Now, the way we interpret that one is basically every dog has their day, or in a very short way, more even briefer than that, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. Okay? Keep the faith. And God will come to your aid at some point in the future. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. But by and by, we got to keep the faith. That's our job. Now, let's go ahead and get into our story. By the way, those words of wisdom come to you direct from Jamaica through the internet, through the power of the internet. Yes, the power of the internet. It's a wonderful thing, ain't it? All right, so let's go ahead and read a poem today. Let's see what we got for today. Let's see. Let's try this one right here. We're going to read today about the village, because we always talk about how it takes a village to raise a child. So let's read a poem that's kind of mild, that doesn't necessarily talk about a child, but it does talk about a village. Antigua Village. Village speaks as banana trees hanging over shingled rooftops embrace in the dark. The houses bright with candlelights look like jumbies walking with flashlights in neat rows beneath the mango trees. From the houses dance the scents of fried fish and fungi, molasses and pepper pot. That sounds good even now. The houses echo voices of laughter and song accompanied by banjos and the tapping of feet and frying pans. With the coming of morning, sounds of reckless laughter fade into the air, stomping indelibly in memory. Antigua Village. Antigua Village. And that is another poem by Althea Romeo, our poet of the month. Reading from her book, Shushu Moko Jumbi. Shushu Moko Jumbi, which you can see, there's a Moko Jumbi right up there on the stage. You see it? Shushu Moko Jumbi. The silent, dancing spirit. They say nothing. Not even one mumbling word. Almost like in our story, The Feather Woman of the Jungle, where the woman went silent for 2 years in order to free her brothers from the clutches of the Feather Woman of the jungle, that jungle witch, that timeless, oh, I won't say that word, but you know it rhymes. Okay, yes, that feather woman of the jungle. So let's see if we can get started with our story today. I'll get our slideshow up here in a minute. We were reading yesterday from Norma Marceret's book. And Norma is having a problem. Norma is having a problem with her mama because her mama doesn't approve of any of her friends. In fact, her mama wants her to get a whole new set of friends. But the people that she wants Norma to be friends with are not friendly. And that is a problem. They're not friendly. So therefore, Norma feels about those people that her mother would like her to be friends with about the same way that her mother feels about Norma's actual friends. Okay, so they're having a little bit of a conflict here over who is going to be friends with who. So let's go ahead and return to our book and our story with Norma and her mother going back and forth about her friends. So Norma's mother says, one bad apple can spoil a barrel of good apples, says her mom. I'm not in the same barrel, Mom. Quit worrying. Why is it they come here in bunches as if you were the hottest thing in town? Mom shouted at me. Mom, I resent that, I said in as firm a tone as possible, without the volume of a shout. I am not a canine in heat. I am a human being. I'm a person who can consent or object, say yes or no, be good or bad, do right or wrong. That is my choice, my territory. No one can invade what is my business. I walked away, tearfully angry at my mother. Tearfully angry. Theodus Curry, George Claiborne, and Alvin Jones had collided with each other on an unconfirmed Sunday afternoon visit. Mom's last remark was in reference to that incident. Mom thought it was disgusting that three gentlemen wished to escort me to a Sunday matinee at the Palace or Lowe's State Theater. I thought it was funny, and I was flattered. Okay. Mom was not entirely alone in her apprehensions. I had some young adult misgivings about moving outside the circle of home, school, and work myself. I had no sexual desires, no physical yearnings as yet to get involved in boy, girl, male, female relationships. Dating was a temporary interlude between where I was and where I wanted to go. It was a disquieting experience for me to discover how many young men had no manners and knew nothing about dating etiquette. They would drive up to the house and honk the horns of their missing muffler-treated cars, alerting the usually quiet neighborhood they were there. They had never been taught to knock on the door, announce their arrival, introduce themselves to their date's parents, and escort their lady to their car. There were several one-time movie dates with young men who were rude and crude. Their eagerness to pay the theater price of admission had nothing to do with the screen's attraction. The darkened theater was to them a legitimate place to paw and fondle their date's anatomy. I knew how to pinch in a sensitive spot or go to the ladies' restroom and leave the eager beaver stranded in the theater while I slipped out and ran all the way home. Still, I had to learn about my peers. I had to learn about the advantages and disadvantages of single dating, double dating, and the pull of collective behavior. At any given time and appropriate seasons of the year, there were hay rides, picnics, and carloads of young people driving from one home to another, eating, drinking, and partying at almost all home gatherings. After the couples paired off, the lights were turned down low. The shades were drawn and the petting began. There was never any adult supervision or planned evenings of games and entertainment. I made it a rule never to give my date a second chance to subject me to an unsavory situation. One weekend, a girl acquaintance invited me to join a caravan of cars going to Cleveland to attend a nightclub. Would I go along? Her older brother, who was home from college, would be happy to be my escort. I did not know then, but I later learned with Percy's warning and closer attention to other invitations that I was only invited to cover up the group's intended mischief. Some parents were inclined to give their daughters permission to go somewhere, commenting, if the Snipes girls are there, I know there will be no hanky-panky. By the time the three-car caravan had assembled, it was nearly midnight. When we arrived in Cleveland, the drivers could not find the nightclub. I was not so naive as to believe a legitimate entertainment spot had a show beginning at 2:30 in the morning. There was something eerie about giggling, excited young people driving around traffic-abandoned, dimly lit streets, inviting something to happen. Eventually, we headed for a relative's home on the east side. We were graciously welcomed and served plenty of food. The young men shared and emptied their flasks with their particular brand of bootleg liquor. I knew fewer than 6 of the nearly 20 people gathered in that crowded living room and dining room. Close to 4 a.m., the mistress of the house was dispersing couples all over her upstairs to catch some shut-eye and sober up, quote unquote. Before driving back to Canton, 8 couples had vanished up the thickly carpeted steps to the second and third floors. 4 of us remained in the living room. George, my escort, Alberta, a daughter of one of Mom's friends, her date, and myself. Alberta lay sprawled on a cushioned chair after drinking a small glass of wine. I attempted to make her comfortable. She was insensibly drunk. Her escort announced vehemently, "Take your hands off her. She is mine for the night, drunk or sober. I'll take care of her." At that, he picked Alberta up, slung her unconscious body over his shoulder, and headed up the stairs. George and I were left in that gaudily furnished room alone. He looked at me and said, "We're the last couple. What are we going to do?" "I'm sitting right here in this chair until it's daylight. I could phone a taxi to take me to the train station tomorrow morning," I announced. "Don't you think you need some sleep like the others?" he asked. "Nope. Sure don't. Not the kind of sleep they're getting. And if you brought me here for your enjoyment, you're going to be very disappointed. I do not do things like that," says Norma. "Even if I did, it would never be in public like this. No, I'm sitting right here and you stay where you are over there." "I wouldn't think of touching you," George said. I expect to be asleep in no time. Don't let my snoring bother you. I'll see that you arrive home safely tomorrow." George settled himself in 2 overstuffed chairs and went to sleep. I was not afraid. Grandma had told me what to do in case of an attempted rape. Even the meanest critter would not want a house full of peers to hear an outcry that would advertise his rejection. When I shared with Percy how we sat there until daybreak and nothing happened, I realized he was the only person I knew who would have believed either of us. Yep, that's a fact. Percy explained, you literally spent the night in a bootleg brothel. There are women who are not madams of houses of prostitution, but they make their money the same way. They don't own the women who sell their bodies, but they rent the rooms to any couple who can pay the price. It matters not who the customers are or whether it is for 1 hour or one evening. Take another look at your friends and know where you are going and with whom before you go out of town again. You must have a guardian angel looking after you. You were shown enough in a dangerous situation. George and I became fairly good friends after that night. I think I could have developed a fondness for him, except for his drinking. After a few drinks, and he drank heavily, he was a charming, good-natured humorist. Mom liked George in preference to all my dates. He attended Wilberforce College, and he was northern born, okay? Because many of them were not at that time. It was next to impossible to find a group of young people who knew how to gather socially for clean fun, parlor games, and intellectual conversations. The Negro teenager had no access in the 20s to roller skating rinks, swimming pools, the YMCA and the YWCA, the segregated movie house, the public dance hall, and the dimly lit lights out front room or speakeasy residence set the stage for intimate illicit relationships. I remember hearing about the lovely recreation room Dr. and Mrs. J.B. Walker had in their Broad Avenue home. I began to dream of the house I would live in someday, where young people would be invited to engage in activities I had never experienced. Darts, pool, chess, bridge, ping pong, and all kinds of exciting, thought-provoking games. Looking for moments of enjoyment with my peers meant that I ran into several situations that had the potential for disastrous consequences. I became good friends with Vera Spencer, an only child. She was short and stocky, and I was tall and thin, but we were both wallflowers and had similar personalities. Her parents were divorced, and her mother had remarried. Vera and I felt a similar father loss and shared to some degree our feelings about our predicament. One Saturday, she and I decided to hire Buster to drive us to Akron, Ohio to hear the Mills Brothers in concert. Buster was one of the most popular, personable young men in town. Had we been sophisticated, boy-crazy young ladies, we would have made a play for him. Our only reason for hiring Buster was that neither of us wanted to be bothered with a jealous, possessive date or a companion who required boxing gloves or a nail file to fend off an assault. She's dangerous. Buster called up for us at our homes and agreed to return us to our door for $2 apiece. Vera and I sat in the back seat of the Model T Ford while the driver, Buster, with another male companion, sat up front. They stopped to get gas at a filling station in Greentown and then proceeded to Akron. We had a delightful, music-filled evening, and we were driven home close to 2 a.m. Sunday morning, grateful for our uncomplicated safety. About 8 a.m. that Sunday morning, as I was trying to convince myself that sleep would be more enjoyable than church, Percy phoned. He announced he wanted to see Vera and me right after the church services. Be there, he demanded. As we emerged from the morning service, Percy walked with us down Cherry Avenue and up 13th Street in the direction of Housel Avenue, where Vera lived. He said, seriously, anytime the two of you want to go to an out-of-town affair, dance, nightclub, concert, or whatever, get in touch with me. Don't you ever hire that fool Buster or anyone to take you anywhere again. Sound like Percy was teed off. I believe he was a little bit peeved there, but I'm not sure why. And we're not going to be able to find out until next week, because today is Friday, TGIF. Although one day has morphed into another here during this pandemic. But we'll find out next week. We'll continue on with the story of Norma Marceray. And I already said from the very beginning, we were only going to get a small portion of this book read. Okay, we're not going to be able to read the whole book. It's a 600-page book. It would take us more than a month to read this book, probably about 2 months to read through this whole book. But we're going to get a portion of it done. And then if you want to finish the book, you can either wait until we do more later, or you could go ahead and see if you can get yourself a copy online. There are a few copies left online at reasonable prices, but if you want a copy, I wouldn't wait too long. Don't wait for the price to go up. Get it while you can. Hit it and quit it. What do they say? You snooze, you lose. Okay, don't wait too long, because these prices of these books, even the used books, the price of used books is going up like the price of used cars. Whoever thought used cars would be said to be expensive? But right now they are. Used cars in the USA, to purchase one, it's like trying to buy a used car in Cuba. It's like there's an embargo out, because parts for new cars, etc., are scarce, and now used cars are the thing. Yeah, never thought I'd be saying those words, but neither here nor there. We're going to go ahead and move on. And meanwhile, you know who this is. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central. Doc Ock at noon and 9. So you know to look for us again at 9 o'clock. We'll be black tonight with a few more stories of the Feather Woman of the Jungle. And then, you know, next week we're going to switch, and we'll come up with some more stories to read. We'll move into a whole nother series of stories. All part of our scary stories this month of October, or should we call it Shocktober? Yes, we over here telling some of our scary stories. And last but not least, let me just give a shout out to Sledge Bay over there. We see you, giving you a wave. And Robert Wilkes, we see you as well. Anytime y'all come on, feel free to go ahead and give us a wave. Let us know that you're out there, because every time you give us a wave, it encourages us. You know, we are encourageable. Absolutely. And we need your encouragement. We need your support. So please feel free to give us a shout out so that we know you're out there, and we can acknowledge your presence. In the meanwhile, this is Doc Ock saying peace out with justice, because anything less disgusts us. And we go into the extra.